Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Stone, and I am the Chief Clinical Officer for Kennedy Krieger Institute. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for Kennedy's third session of Exploring the Brain. Today, we will focus on how young children learn. But before we get started, let's just do a few Zoom housekeeping tips. First, if everyone could mute themselves during the presentation, that would be great. And you will be able to unmute yourself to ask questions at the end. Also, during the presentation, please feel free to ask questions or enter your questions into the chat, and we will respond to them at the end of the presentation. So I am happy to be joined today by my colleagues, 4 early childhood education leaders at Kennedy Krieger. Diane Appel, who is the director of the Pre-K and Model Inclusion Program at our Center for Autism and Related Disorders. Kimberly Cosgrove, who is our director of the Therapeutic Nursery Program at PAC, helping children with special needs. Sharon Holloway, who is our director, World of Care Program, also at PAC, helping children with special needs. And Susan Weber, who is our director of the Early Southeast Early Head Start program. Next slide. I want to start by sharing the Institute's strategic planning schematic. We see those we serve and their families at the center of everything we do, surrounded by their community. This is vitally important as we create partnerships to engage in equity-based and culturally relevant work related to the clinical care we provide, the research we engage in, training, education, advocacy, and community engagement. Next slide, please. Early childhood education occurring in the community is important to our mission and where we can influence the trajectory of the developing brain. So why now? We have always known that genes are the blueprint for the developing brain and are influenced by our environments and experiences that shape early capacities, behaviors, physical and mental health. Today, we will talk about how children learn through supportive, responsive relationships, strengthening their core skills, and creating less stressful environments. Next slide. I'd like to address the Institute's early childhood education mission. By integrating and sharing our knowledge and work in infant attachment, childhood traumatic stress, family engagement, and understanding the impact of environmental forces on early childhood development. We want to be able to advance equity and inclusion for young children and their families, to provide early childhood experiences that build those parent-caregiver relationships, that help manage adverse childhood experiences and improve developmental outcomes. We want to offer programs to improve school readiness. So through developing these relationships and partnerships with families and the community to create this vision, and will help do the work. Next slide. Kennedy Krieger provides early childhood education for pre-pandemic, approximately 250 children across several sites. The programs provide social, emotionally enriching classroom activities, readiness for pre-K, and activities to facilitate family engagement. Our PACT World of Care program serves children from 6 weeks to age 5. It is the only medical childcare center in Central Maryland with nurses, developmental therapists, and experienced childcare teachers to meet the needs of children who are medically fragile or who have developmental concerns. This program is located in Northwest Baltimore County. PACT also has a pre-K classroom. It is a free program serving children both 4 and 5, with and without special health needs, also located in Northwest Baltimore County. Our CARD Pre-K and Model Inclusion Program is a free full-day program serving children ages 3 to 5, located in Northwest Baltimore City on the Kennedy Krieger Green Spring campus. Our Southeast Early Head Start program is a comprehensive early Head Start that serves family and children up to the age of 3 by promoting emotional security, health and safety, and the enjoyment of learning. And finally, our PAC Therapeutic Nursery offers early Head Start services for children under the age of 3 who are currently without a permanent home. It is located at Sarah's Hope, which is the largest homeless shelter for families in Baltimore City. The program promotes parent-child attachment, enhances family stability through attachment-based, trauma-informed mental health interventions. And now I'd like to turn it over to Kim Cosgrove, who will get us started in our journey to understanding how young children learn. Kim?
Wonderful. Thank you, Jackie. Next slide, please. So, I'm sure everybody here has had just a busy day, and we really believe that it's important to pause before we gather together, especially when we're thinking about little ones and their families. This is a difficult time for so many. Many people on this call are probably struggling with various things that are going on in life today. But it's nice to just pause for a moment and think about somebody in your life who perhaps seemed to have your back, somebody you could rely on, somebody who, if you had a tough day, was there to give you a hug. If you had a joyous moment, you just figured out how to blow bubbles, they were there to enjoy and cherish that moment as well. So I'd like everybody to just take a moment. And if we could just see the gallery, that would be wonderful. And feel free to keep your cameras off. But I'd like you to just sort of pause, take some deep breaths. If you're in a place that you can close your eyes, please close your eyes. Imagine that person, what they looked like, how they sounded, what their touch felt like. Perhaps it was, a solid hug, a gentle hug. And just notice what that's like for your body at this moment. Remembering that person who was there for you and may still be there for you. Now, you may realize that this evokes some emotion in you. You may feel, if that person has moved on in their life and they're no longer with us, that, that you have a sadness in your heart. Or you may have some tightness in your chest because of that sadness. But honor that, because that represents the care and the love that you shared. And that's what early childhood is all about, is honoring and relishing those moments. So take one more deep breath in and out, and open your eyes if you close them, and recenter yourself back to our space together. Next slide, please. So we're going to take you on a journey today through each of our programs using Maslow's hierarchy. You may have heard this in a psychology class a long time ago. But one of the most important things about early development and growth is that we make sure that basic needs are met. And that's something that all of our programs are going to do. We are going to provide food. We're going to provide a place to sleep for nap time. We're going to provide basic needs to our families and keep them safe. Next slide, please. And in our program at PACS Therapeutic Nursery, I'm going to dive a little deeper here, and I'm going to ask you guys to take a little look into social emotional development in particular. So we as human beings, our brains are wired for attachment and connection. We do not survive as a species unless we are attached to a loving and caring caregiver, a parent. We are born, we are vulnerable. And in those first few months of life, if you look, this is one of my favorite slides. I stole this slide from a presentation from somebody, I bet almost 20 years ago. But I loved it because it just really exemplifies how the process of development occurs, and how you don't just finish that first phase of gaining a sense of security and then it's done. But if you look at this slide, it's got a stair step, right? So security continues, and it continues in our lives as we become older, right? We all experienced a bit of a destabilization at the early parts of the pandemic, and not really feeling very safe and secure. And, many of us may have gathered loved ones so that we could all be together. That is who we are. We need each other, and we need that safe and secure place. And our children need that to grow. So what I love about this is, we're going to help little ones feel safe and secure, and then they're going to start to explore. And it's amazing that the body and the brain work so well, because right around the time that we're ready to crawl, we're feeling pretty secure and we're ready to start exploring the world. So that's that next phase. And then we move forward. After we've explored a few things, we start to think to ourselves, I like this, or don't like that. And so really how critical it is that we just allow our children to explore their world, to learn who they are, and then they move forward to that beautiful stage of, being in school, going to college, getting married, and all of that is so much of it is based on that first step, that sense of security. Next slide, please. So in our program in particular, we have utilized a parenting program called Circle of Security. And, one thing that I frequently like to tell people, and I know this is going to sound harsh, but love has nothing to do with a secure attachment. All parents love their children. Our parents who are experiencing homelessness, they love their children like there's no tomorrow. But sometimes we as parents struggle with our little ones. And Circle of Security helps us develop a roadmap that helps us know how to support them in the way that they need to be supported. So if you look at this slide, you can see there are hands there, and that is that parent or caregiver. When children, once again, feel safe and secure, they go out and explore. But what's also critical here is that when they get tired, when they get frightened, it's also critical that they know that they can come back to you. And these moment-to-moment interactions happen throughout the day, sometimes within seconds of each other. What's important for us to help parents understand and for us to remember is we don't have to be perfect. We just really need to be good enough. Research shows that if we do it about 30% of the time, if we're in that matched, attuned way of interacting and we're meeting our child's needs, they're going to do really well in feeling safe and secure with us. So that's something that we do in our program every day. And one of the elements that we truly believe in is not only do we want to support the children, but we want to support the parents and support them in learning new ways of connecting with their child and perhaps others. And so we almost can imagine another hand behind those hands supporting that parent and child as they grow together. Because if we allow that safe and secure base to develop, children are able to explore and grow. Next slide, please. So this is a big piece for our program, is that safety and security, building it throughout the day, routines, rituals, but relationship is the key. Many years ago, I heard a fellow, a educational fellow presenting at a national conference, and he said the 3 R's of school readiness are not reading, writing, and arithmetic. They are relationship, builds resilience, which builds school readiness. And that's what our program and all of our programs here at Kennedy Krieger really try to support and promote. I'm going to hand it over to my wonderful colleague, Susan Weber, who also works in Early Head Start, as I do. And Susan's going to take us into the place to support families. Susan, take it away.
Thank you so much, Kim. So Kim talks about 2 of the most important things that the children need, and that is safety and security. And I want to build on that hierarchy of needs, and I would like to share about how our program supports our children and their parents through linkages to community resources to help them thrive. As we all know, parents are their children's first educators, and this is why it's important that they're connected to resources to enable them to support their children's growth and development. So next slide, please. Okay, so this particular slide we are looking at is taken from the Strengthening Families Framework, which is a research-based approach to increasing family strength, enhancing child development, and reducing the likelihood of child abuse and neglect. It's based on engaging families, programs, and communities in building 5 protective factors. Those 5 protective factors are parental resilience, social connections, knowledge of parenting and child development, concrete support in times of need, and social and emotional competence of children. So the Southeast Early Head Start has a unique component, and that is we also provide support to children and their parents who come from a diverse culture. Right now, we serve 55 children, and more than 50 of our students are English language learners. Next slide, please. So this Ready at 5 slide shows that there is a significant gap between kindergarten readiness of English language learners and those who are fluent in English. Consistently, our assessments show that our English language learners score lower, particularly in language and literacy. And so to respond to this, language and literacy are 2 of the main learning domains which we focus on each time we update our school readiness goals. So typically through our periodic assessments, we're able to show that at the end of each school year, about 85% of our 3-year-olds are able to demonstrate their readiness level to transition into the Head Start program. In addition, one of the ways we've been able to address the language barriers, is, as Kim had mentioned, is to provide bilingual family services through the efforts of our bilingual family advocate. Next slide, please. So this Strengthening Families Framework reinforces the importance of positive interaction and fosters a trusting relationship between staff and families. We recognize that the way to building relationship with our students and their families is by being sensitive to language and their culture, which then builds rapport and trust in staff and ultimately improves outcomes. Next slide. So speaking of linking families to community resources, how are we doing this? So once the family is enrolled in Southeast Early Head Start, the family is assigned a team that consists of a family advocate and a team of teachers. And then within the first 45 days of enrollment, the team members partner and collaborate with the parents to complete various developmental screenings, such as the Ages and Stages and the Ages and Stages social emotional questionnaires. We also use family partnership agreements and strengths and needs assessments. So this whole process helps us identify potential developmental delays in children, their family risk factors, and family strengths. So our team members then support the family in obtaining and maintaining needed community resources such as emergency food, clothing, medical assistance, as well as mental health services, healthcare, dental care, speech therapy, and so on. Next slide, please. So to break it down even further, I want to show the first slide, the first box, I'm sorry, which demonstrates our service delivery structure. For instance, box number 1, where it says need, shows a child with a developmental delay. And then box number 2, some of the resources we access are, of course, our parents, BITP, which is Baltimore Infants and Toddlers Program, mental health service providers, and then the classroom teachers. Next box, please. Okay, the activities show the referrals from our program to community partners. Next box. The output box shows the specific services to support the child to address the developmental delay, such as regular observations from the teachers, professional interventions, and the individualized education that fits the child's special needs. And then next box, please. Okay, the outcomes then shows improvements in speech or whatever is the targeted area with the child developing at his or her own pace, showing his or her ability to thrive in the classroom environment. And finally, the last box. Okay, the impact shows a consistent system in place to support the child now and in the future. Okay, next slide, please. So to put it all together, I would like to show a video testimony of a Latino parent who was a participant of our program during the school year 2018 and 2019. And in this video, this parent named Marta has a child who is on the spectrum, where she provides testimony of how she and her child received concrete support through community linkage and staff efforts.
Hola, mi nombre es Marta Orellana. Tengo 2 niños, 2 hijos, pero lastimosamente solo uno participó porque con el mayor no sabía sobre el programa y él participó en el Southeast Early Head Start en el transcurso del 2018 y el 2019. Los desafíos que yo encontré como familia cuando yo llegué al programa era de que era una madre no como insegura y lo que buscábamos en ese tiempo era la socialización entre mi niño con los demás niños, pero también me ayudó como madre, conocí muchas madres, el personal. No puedo decir más palabras que estoy muy orgullosa. Me enseñaron demasiado, recibí mucho apoyo emocional, porque como lo dije, llegué muy como, mi autoestima estaba muy bajo, pero por la situación es que llegué con mi autoestima muy bajo porque mi niño en el 2017 fue diagnosticado con autismo. Cuando llegué al programa, yo iba buscando como algo para que mi niño tuviera aquella conexión con otros niños. Por ser un niño antisocial, pero la verdad no fue solo para mi niño, fue también para mí también como madre. Y el programa me brindó apoyo emocional, recursos. Entre los recursos que yo obtuve fue el GED y me dieron información cómo yo podría obtener más apoyo, recursos sobre mi niño. En uno de ellos está el ABA, que es un programa de terapias es digo yo, excelente. Y no puedo decir que no hay ninguna información. El programa brinda muchos recursos y apoyos para la familia. Simplemente y siempre hay que preguntar por ellos, no quedarnos. Otra que me gustaría agregar es que tienen muchos tipos de programas, recursos como clases de ISTO, inglés, el GED, te ayudan a encontrar todas las necesidades como salud mental, recursos si lo necesitas, como lo dije, hay que hablarlo porque ellos nunca sabrán qué es lo que realmente necesita y hacen lo imposible para encontrar todo lo que uno de padre necesite, igual como los niños, como la enseñanza y cuidado de nuestros hijos. ¿De qué manera me ayudó el programa? Bueno, fue tan magníficamente durante todo ese año. Recordarlo me trae tantos recuerdos porque, como dije, llegué una mujer deprimida que por nada lloraba. Es que ahí me encontré yo misma. Me ayudó a crecer como una persona fuerte, buscar mi voz, me enriqueció demasiado a levantar mi autoestima, a la cual realmente estoy agradecida con todo y pues es un magnífico programa, no solo para nuestros hijos, también para los padres. Y me enseñaron, me aprendí con un programa que ellos me dijeron que si lo quería obtener, que era el programa de Padres Líderes. Es donde yo aprendí a que sí podía y que soy una persona poderosa, no poderosa porque tengo superpoderes, sino que ya me sé comunicar, ya no tengo ese miedo de que, me van a decir algo y deprimirme, no, está de que tengo que seguir y seguir luchando por lo que se necesita y poder luchar para mi comunidad latina.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so basically, just to recap, Marta was referred to several resources. You can go ahead and put all the boxes on there. There are so many resources in order to support her with her needs, not only for her, but also for her child. All right, she is one of the many success stories that we have of the work that we do with and for the community. So I would also like to note that Miss Marta recently visited our center with her child, and we were very amazed at how her child has just progressed from being nonverbal into becoming very engaging and quite talkative. Okay, so now I'm going to hand the baton to Sharon Holloway.
Thank you, Susan. That was a wonderful presentation, and I just love hearing about the work that you do. When we're able, if we could see the next slide, that would be great. Thank you. So we're going to keep moving up the hierarchy and looking at how our high quality programming can really make this secure base for the program and then keep building and scaffolding for children. Next slide, please. So I don't know about everybody else on the call, but when I think about brain development and how much of it happens in those early years, it's really pretty remarkable. And I always picture brain development as all of the traditional things we think about as kids are going off to school, being able to manage one's own book bag, being able to sit crisscross applesauce on the carpet and raise your hand, being able to pick out some letters or maybe some sight words in a book. And I'm offering this as a midpoint check for us to reframe what early childhood brain development looks like, what this 90% is really all about. And that's really about the secure base. that children and the adults who are special to them, they need to feel secure, they need to feel safe in order to do those higher level thinking and learning. They need to know that they're cherished for who they are right then, not who they're going to be as they're growing up, but for who they are right now. And I think what we've heard from Kim and from Susan is that's really the emphasis of their programs, is to look at that family component so that the families can be the ones to foster the children's learning. And we continue that with our program also. Next slide, please. So one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about is creating a classroom community. We want to be sure in our program that all children feel welcomed and that they are welcomed and that they have the resources they need to feel loved, feel cherished, and to be able to start to explore the world around them. Kids, as they grow, they need to be able to go out and see what those interests are, as Kim was talking about. They need to be able to develop language skills, like what Susan was talking about. And I wanted to share this classroom picture because what we know with children is that they not only need the relationships from those caring, supportive, skilled adults, they also need opportunities. They need opportunities to try. They need opportunities to be included. They need opportunities to be silly and to explore. In this photo, the friends in this classroom, this is not how our teachers usually look, sometimes, but we had a theme week, and this was our silly mismatch day. And every child and every staff participated because every child and every staff member felt supported, they felt cared for, and that they knew they were a part of our team and our collective. I'd like to draw attention to the facial expressions on the children. You can see a little guy who's in a gait trainer, a walker. This is the support he needs to get around. And he is ready to go. He is ready to come see who's taking the picture. He wants to be on the move. And there's a little girl right next to him who is one of his dearest friends. He loves to chase her around the room. He loves to play in dramatic play. And it's our job in our program to help make that happen, to figure out how we make those accommodations so that he has all of those experiences to try and to be involved. One of the things we know about inclusion is that it benefits all children, not just the children with developmental disabilities. The children who are in our center, all of them are working on 21st century skills. They're all working on communicating. They're all working on collaboration. They're all working on exploration and figuring things out, not just always being kind of given the right information. And we find that having the supports built into classrooms, built into systems, it gives families the sense of confidence that their children are going to be cared for and they're going to thrive. And it gives our staff the tools they need to make sure every child is included. Next slide, please. So we can see we keep moving up Maslow's hierarchy. In our program, we really emphasize the belonging and the feeling a part of the community. Our children don't always get that in the rest of the world, and our children deserve it. And it's our job here to make sure that they get it. And it's our job to be sure that we help other people provide that same level of welcome. And we take that very seriously. We know that not all of our children are going to develop those traditional school readiness skills, being able to sit crisscross applesauce and be able to talk. Some of our children have degenerative conditions, so that their ability to play when they have that skill is vital. Their ability to belong to a group, a collective, is essential. And that's what we really thrive on here, and we hope we offer to all the children. I would like to turn this over to my delightful colleague, Diane, who's going to keep working us up Maslow's hierarchy.
Thanks so much, Sharon. Next slide, please. So I want to talk a little bit about our program, which is a pre-K program for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. And I want to talk a little bit about kindergarten readiness. Now, why am I talking about kindergarten readiness? Well, the children who are leaving our programs are going to kindergarten, whether they're ready or not. And when we talk about kindergarten readiness, as Sharon kind of mentioned, we are talking, of course, about those ABCs. We're, of course, talking about our numbers. We're also talking about those classroom functioning skills. Are children going to be able to sit down, crisscross applesauce? Are children going to be able to listen to a story and comprehend meaning? Are children going to be able to engage in conversation with teachers or classmates? So on this slide, we have some information about kindergarten readiness coming from Ready at 5, from the Kindergarten Readiness Assessment Report from 2001 to 2021 to 2022, that school year. What they found is that children who come into kindergarten with disabilities of some sort are 25% less likely to demonstrate readiness in kindergarten. And children in low-income households are 22% less ready to demonstrate readiness in kindergarten. And those are across quite a few domains. They look at language and literacy, mathematics, they look at arts, physical, and other forms of readiness in kindergarten. And the 3 areas they look for are demonstrating readiness, approaching readiness, and emerging readiness. The reason that we want to make sure that children are as close to demonstrating readiness as possible is that is when they're going to have the most success in kindergarten and then further on in elementary school. Next slide, please. So I want to stop here and take a quick poll. I want to talk a little bit about executive function. Executive functioning are the kinds of skills that you need to be able to keep 2 things in your mind at the same time. If you're, rushing out the door and you have to remember where your keys are, or if you are doing some math and you need to keep track of how many of something you're calculating a number to, or if you're following directions and there's 2 or 3 or 4 step directions that you have to follow in sequence for something to work. So those higher level skills that let you juggle multiple things at the same time. So I have a quick poll for you guys, and I'm asking you, at what age do you think children's executive functioning skills, do you think they develop the most? Okay, I see some people making some guesses. Excellent, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. So I'm seeing some 3 to 5s, I'm seeing some 0 to 3s. All right. I see a 6 years of age. And I'm just gonna give you guys one more second to make those guesses. All right. I see an 8. Excellent. So I'm just gonna go back to our slides if we can. Would that be possible to do? And then the answer is that the biggest jump that we see, and you can see in our graph here, for executive functioning skills are from ages 3 to 5. Now, some people might find that surprising because we think of executive functioning as being an upper elementary skill. It's certainly not something that I think of us as really working hard with our young children on, but a lot of you guys were correct, and hopefully you guys figured it out because we're doing a 0 to 5 webinar today. But we do executive functioning skills in a lot of different ways. So when young children are being given 2-step directions, they're being given executive functioning practice. When children are being given calming strategies for when they're upset about not having a toy, they're being given executive function practice. And those skills that they're learning are giving them the necessary strategies and the necessary skills for when they're 8 years old and they're reading a text, they have a word they don't understand, being able to still sound it out and try to use comprehension and context clues to figure out what that word means, or to be able to stop, ask a teacher what that word means, and then go back into the story and continue reading. All those upper level skills that kids need, they start here from 3 to 5 when we're giving them those basic building blocks of readiness. Now, what happens in our program is that children who have come from a low-income family or who have need of disability, some kind of special identified need, come to us. And for some of them, this is the first time that they've been in care. So they might be 4 or 5 years old, and we might be starting all the way back from where Kim and Susan described that their program starts. So some of our children have some of these skills that they come to us with, and some of these children, we're starting at the security. We're starting at that exploration. We're starting at that independence piece. And we're starting them wherever they are to be able to build their skills so that they develop skills and are able to move on to kindergarten. We have a young child who joined our class last year and was having 10 tantrums a day. She was crying every time we washed our hands. And I'm sure you can imagine in a COVID-ridden world how often we were washing our hands throughout the day. Every time we washed our hands, this child was crying hysterically, screaming, tantruming, didn't have the vocabulary, didn't have the self-help or regulation skills to be able to communicate with us what the problem was, what she needed. We've worked with her over the last year and a half, and now at this point, as a child ready to enter kindergarten, we're having maybe one, mostly no tantrums a day. She washes her hands happily, and we've given her a lot of skills to advocate for herself when she has an issue and needs help. She might say to us, I'm not ready yet, can I have one more minute? So she's gaining those skills so that when she goes to kindergarten, instead of going right to tantrums, she's able to communicate her needs, and that gives her that extra help to be able to stay with the class and be able to learn new things. Next slide, please. And so as we move higher in Maslow's hierarchy, we see where those esteem needs come in. So when children start feeling that feeling of accomplishment. So as children in our program gain skills, no matter where they start, they're starting to feel a sense of pride. They're starting to feel accomplishment. They can do things. That encourages a cycle of them wanting to do more and try more things. And what we're hoping that happens is that they gain a lifelong love of learning because they feel like they can. And they really like that feeling of gaining skills and enjoying their sense of pride and accomplishment. I'm actually going to turn it back over to Dr. Stone.
Thank you, Diane. Next slide, please. So we see that thinking about advocacy for early childhood educators and programming gives educators resources. It gives them the tools that they need to be able to meet the needs of the children, for every child to be able to reach their full potential. So the completion of Maslow's hierarchy really involves building that solid foundation. It's like building a house. As I was thinking about and listening to everyone, we really need that solid foundation in which to move forward on, in which to build on, in order to be able to provide and engage in and participate in many of what we reference as these kindergarten readiness skills for children as they enter a school year. Next slide, please. So how are we doing? Thinking about what we've covered so far, what you've thought about, the whole process of learning, learning from a foundational perspective, ensuring the safety, the attachment, the confidence in a child with their caregiver. Are we going in the right direction when we think about and talk about early childhood development and education? What were you hoping to hear today? Next slide, please. So now I'd like to open it up for questions for the panel. So if the panel could come back on, that would be great. And you can feel free to unmute yourself, raise your hand, or feel free to put any of your questions into the chat. That would be great. And I'll just wait a few seconds. If anyone has questions or comments, we'd be more than happy to entertain them at this point in time. Well, I'm going to start with just one question, because I often hear stories about children that come back to visit. And so maybe to Sharon, who directs our World of Care program for children with medical complications. Sharon, where do children go after they leave the PACT program?
Thanks, Jackie. It's interesting. We just had a family stop by last week whose daughter is now 13 years old. And sometimes we have families who are in the area and they like to just stop in and tell us what's going on. And it's always a treat. We love seeing them. Families can go to a variety of different places because our child care center, which has that medical component and therapeutic component, it's not as if all children go back to their home schools, and we have children come to us from a range of locations. We have families from Baltimore City, all of Baltimore County. Right now we have a family in Howard, Hartford, and Anne Arundel counties. So a big part of our work is helping kids as they leave us kind of regroup for what's going to be within their home community. So we have a lot of children who are going into typical kindergarten classrooms. We have a lot of children who go to special education programs. And unfortunately, we find that there's a gap in terms of childcare options for working families. And families are piecemealing things together to continue to find childcare if their children have ongoing healthcare needs. Using kind of flex schedules with their own families and looking at colleges, students who are learning how to become nurses, whether some of those students can be working part-time. And a big part of our effort is to try to get families established and at least have a plan to help them build on those next steps. And much to your point, Jackie, that's where so much of the advocacy comes in, because the more we can help other programs integrate some of what our centers do, the more opportunities our kids will have as they leave us.
Thank you. There's a question in the chat. Actually, they're similar. Actually, one is a two-parter. So anyone, please respond. What are the biggest challenges you face, or your program faces, actually? And then the second part of that are challenges that that are faced by the families that you serve.
I'll answer that. This is Kim Cosgrove. So obviously housing is one of the biggest stressors for our families who are living in shelter, or, not having a stable home can really make life very difficult. I always say, imagine like you're going on a trip to Europe and your family's not real thrilled about it. So they're not talking to you, and you head out and you're supposed to go to this place, and you actually found a new job in this town in Europe, and you get there and you find out everything was a scam. You don't have a job, you don't have a place to live. And guess what? Your family's not talking to you. They have said, you're on your own. Don't call us. And you've lost your money, all your money. You don't have anything with you. Imagine what that feels like for you as maybe a grown adult. And then imagine what it's like if you had a baby, a 6-month-old. Big difference. I mean, the level of stress that our parents experience is just off the chart. And so many of them are struggling, especially during this pandemic, with mental health problems. If they are in recovery, they're struggling with that. Financial, just sort of the injustice that occurs around housing inequality. All of that is incredibly stressful. And also relational challenges. For some of our families, they've never really been part of a family. They may have been raised in an institution, so imagine that. And, I think people like to say, well, they could just, if they work hard, they're going to pull themselves up by the bootstrap. But if you've got lead weights on your feet, it's awfully hard to lift those legs. And there's a lot of lead weights out there from so many of the families that we serve. And so much of our work is about building that relationship so that they can trust us. And then once they trust us, we can help support them. So
Kim, can I echo what you were just talking about? Because I think universally across all of our programs, one of the things our families experience is isolation. You know, when we look at the safety and security, that whole sense of belonging, it's not just our kids that encounter those challenges, it's our families. You know, as Kim's pointing out, families who are experiencing homelessness, many people approach that with, you know, well, if I were them, I'd blah, 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 blah. You know, I think in Susan's program for families who are not born in the United States, we know that there can be huge backlash, sadly. You know, for Diane and I, we have families whose children have developmental disabilities, behavioral difficulties, healthcare issues, so their kids don't look like you expect them to look when they're out in the community. And those families then encounter a lot of isolation of friends and families not necessarily knowing what they're going through or how to support them. So I think that that's a universal, is really thinking about the families. And I would tag on that we know that 2-generation models of early childhood programming is where it's at in terms of helping families and children progress and succeed. The sooner families can feel and really be their child's primary source of knowledge, comfort, and skill development, the better their whole trajectory goes. So I think looking at how we break down those barriers for social isolation is really important. That then kind of leads to, and the panel will correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like universally, what one of our biggest challenges is, in addition to staffing, because the world is experiencing staffing challenges, doing early childhood well is expensive, and there's simply no way around that. If you really want quality and you really believe and know that early education, early intervention saves you so much in the long run, you've got to invest. And I think oftentimes in the world of, bigger decision-making, policy stuff along the way, people are always trying to figure out the balance and how to make things work. Totally understandable. I mean, we all have to do this for our own budget, but our kids are expensive and our kids are worth it. And so I think from my perspective, from a program point of view, needing to figure out what we can do and what we can't do, because we all have financial constraints, is painful, not insurmountable, because we get a lot of creative energy going from our collective community. But I think it is one of the challenges that's an ongoing issue. And a panelist will correct me with where I went wrong.
No,
Sharon, well said.
that's quite succinctly, Sharon. And I would like to add as well that from a program perspective as well, we have, as I mentioned earlier, the language barrier is there. We serve, more than half of our population are Latino, coming from the Latino community. A lot of our Latino families are walkers. They walk to our schools. But now that we have moved, some of our parents have to take 2 buses just to get to our school where we are located now. But they're all committed to following us. So it would be nice if we can somehow navigate a way for them to get here on time, or maybe modify our schedule in order to allow them to, accommodate their schedules as well. The other thing is the fear of deportation. That's like really big for us as well. But we just do our best to reassure them that that we don't ask those questions, and that we serve them and we meet them where they are. And the other thing is the eviction. For a while, there were no resources for our Hispanic population. If you don't have the documents to prove that you are here in order and be able to access resources and benefits, you have to have papers. But so that was a huge barrier for our families as well. So we are learning how to navigate that. There have been KKI, Kennedy Krieger Institute resources that provide eviction services, as well as assistance with rental. So.
Thank you. So if we could go back to the slides, that would be great, and we'll finish up. We are actually building the next generation. Again, building that foundation to allow all children of all abilities to thrive and to be successful and to reach their full potential. Next slide, please. So just in recapping our vision, we look to continue to sustain early childhood programming for Maryland. We're committed to creating models that are equitable, inclusive, and sustainable. And we have to figure out how to create these models to be able to package and provide the needed components that are needed by not only the children, but also the families, because they come as a package. Children really need that nurturing and that safety and that support from their caregivers. And so you've heard a little bit about each of our programs, the Packed World of Care, the pre-K component, CARD inclusion pre-K program, the Southeast Early Head Start, and the Therapeutic Nursery. But we're also looking forward to development of a Kennedy Krieger Integrated Early Learning Center, which is a demonstration project that we hope will be able to put together all components of what you've heard today and be able to create something that we can replicate in the community. So for providers in the home, for providers in center bases across Maryland and communities, as well as in academia. So we can create mentorship and coaching training opportunities for those in academia to be able to build the next generation of professionals and educators that can care for children inclusively and diverse populations across our state of Maryland. We look forward to launching this project hopefully soon, and we're still working on some tweaks there, but it will serve children ages 3 to 6 and start with an enrollment for the demonstration portion of about 40 children. So we know what's important is the focus being replication, creating something that all can engage in, that it's a sustainable model, and that will cover developing and those with developmental needs. Next slide. So we hope that you remember our time together today. And if I could ask if you can all either just simply put a word into the chat in terms of what you hope to remember from today, or you can think privately about what you've heard and the impact that may be from Kim's mindful moment in the very beginning, your thought about your early childhood experiences and where you are today. Or you can certainly unmute and share with us what your word of reflection and what you might remember today. And with great, wonderful, impactful, hope, absolutely. Grateful, investment in the future. We're going to coin that one. Early work in early childhood development is worth it. Future, thank you. And every moment matters. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.